Hi, I'm Phil, and this is the fourth video in my Mounjaro journey, or Zepbound as it's known in the USA. This is, however, the first video in the slightly tweaked format of how we're going to be doing things going forward. The video will be covering not just a 2-week period, but we'll be starting in January and covering the whole of January. And if you remember in the last video, we said we would drop those 2 weeks updates to allow me to get through the previous months much quicker and get it up to date to where my progress is actually at now. And that will allow me to do weekly update videos going forward, as a lot of you requested. I've had a few saying you prefer this. You all also want to know what my current weight is, so no spoilers. You'll have to follow along, and we'll get up to there at some point. But we will get there faster by not doing 2-week updates, doing 4-week updates as we go. If you want to catch up with the previous videos, I will put a link in the description down below, and I'll put the playlist up at the end of this video. You'll be able to click on that, and it'll take you straight to those previous videos. Now, last week, I touched on how many of you are following along, and since then, there's a few hundred more joined us, so welcome. If you are joining, say hello if you're new around here, and if you're not subscribed, please do. As I explained last week, it helps just grow the community, not just the channel. Make sure you get involved in the comments as well. The things that I'm learning there are fantastic. We've got some people commenting regularly, some people commenting for the first time. We're helping each other with advice and answering questions, and that's what we're going to do again now. Some questions, answers, tips, and nice stories and other things from this week's comments. So let's start with, where can I get Mounjaro? And I know this was the first one we covered last week, and don't worry, I'm not going to recover all that again. But I can still see that question more than any other question in the comments in the various videos. Up above now is a link from that video last week that was covering this. So if you're in the UK, check it out. It'll let you know where you can get Mounjaro in the UK. If you're not in the UK, I still can't help, sorry. Ask about in the comments. There's people from all over the world commenting and helping each other out in here. And someone may be able to help you how to get Mounjaro in your own country. Google will have answers, but I do understand it's always better to get advice from someone who's actually experienced it and knows where to get it from in your country. Also in the videos too, I cover another question I got a lot, and that is, who's my provider? I do go into it in there and explain the reasons why I don't like to say who it is too. I'm not just being awkward, so check that video out and you'll find out why. Just a quick one on where people are commenting from. I'm absolutely amazed at the people and the places, or should I say, the people are watching from. I expected at this point, just over a month into the channel, or coming up to a month in the channel, to have a handful of people watching maybe. I never expected more than a few subscribers. We've got over 2,000 and counting already at the time of recording this. If you could, just out of my own pure curiosity, there's no other reason to do it, just comment and say hi and say where you're from. It blows my mind that I've been chatting to people in the comments from the UK, but I've also been chatting to people from the USA, Australia, India, Germany, Holland, I think, as well, probably others. Just let me know, just say where you're from and say hi if you've got nothing else to say. It just really interests me that I'm chatting to people from all over the world. So on to the first one, some side effects. And as I mentioned again last week, there's way too many side effects. They're all too varied for everyone. They're different for each of us. We all have our own ups and downs and experiences with Mounjaro, and the way that impacts and the side effects it gives us are all different. But a couple of new potential tips that might help a few of you. And I'd like to say at this point as well, though, I'm not a medical professional. I've got no medical background or experience or anything like that. And anything I say should not be taken as medical advice. If you are unsure on ask and seek proper medical advice with anything to do with Mounjaro or anything to do with health in general. These tips are just me sharing things that I believe or I have worked for me, or other things I found in the comments that might help you too. First one was from Joanne. She mentioned that after she took her first injection, she had some bruising in the injection site, which for her on the first site was the stomach. She did some reading and research herself, as we all should. And she read that putting ice on the injection site before you inject can constrict the blood vessels and lower the chance of bruising the vessels or whatever impact it has there. She tried this for a second jab and saw much less bruising. So if you are experiencing bruising on your site jab, bit of ice beforehand, see how it goes, and let me know if it does work for you too. Another one I've seen posted a few times this week is, I feel the effects are wearing off, and towards the end of the week, they're not as potent as they were at the start of the week. And I'd tried this one personally, and I'll cover it in more detail in February's video, because that's when I actually tried it. But the tip I got was splitting your dose. This meant taking half your dose on your regular injection day, and then taking a second part 3 or 4 days later. Now, just to give you an example, exactly what I mean by that, when people aren't doubling a dose or taking the correct dosage, I was told if, for example, you're on 5 milligrams, on your injection day, take the 2.5 milligrams, so doing half your dose, 60 clicks, just do 30 clicks. 3 or 4 days later, do another 30 clicks and take the second 2.5 milligrams of your dose. The idea for this is, the dose is only 2.5 instead of 5 milligrams, but it'll get you through 3 or 4 days, hopefully, and then you can re-top up and then take the second half of your dose later in the week, and that'll keep you going for your full 7 days. I will say, like I said, I'll cover it more in February's video. It didn't work for me, but others have said it's worked for them, so definitely give that a go. The last one this week was from Geraldine. She'd been suffering for the whole of her first 2 weeks with a permanent headache. I assume she had a headache. She had a bad head. I'm going to take that as a headache. When this has been happening, I tend to find it's one of 3 potential things. I'm not saying all those 3 things. It could be one, or it could be something else entirely different. But I found, firstly, it could be down to not enough water. As I mentioned last time, water plays a key role in Mounjaro and the way it works, in my opinion. And again, no medical background. But I find it helps work with the jab. It makes you feel more full. So it works with the injection, and what that does with the GLP-1 and the GIP inductors, they make you feel more full. But also I feel, obviously, drinking water, and plenty of water, does satiate you as well, makes you feel more full. That could prevent headaches, because obviously that could be brought on by dehydration if you're not drinking enough water. I will go on to say that, I've never had any feelings that I'm dehydrated or anything like that, or any signs, but I've gone to the loo myself and I've thought, oh, actually, I am quite dehydrated. I need to go and get some more water, and I do. I have a good, at least a pint of water. As well as keeping you hydrated when you don't think you're dehydrated, it's also got an added benefit that if you do, or you are unfortunate enough to experience any side effects like diarrhea or vomiting, you've got plenty of water in your system to combat or help reduce the effects of vomit and diarrhea, which can lead to dehydration themselves. So plenty of water as usual. I've also noticed people are saying they get headaches when they haven't eaten enough. So a lot of the time you don't realize you've not ate enough because Mounjaro's doing its job. It's making you feel like you're full when you've ate, and also making you not feel as hungry throughout the day. What I've found that can impact people having headaches by not eating enough. And it could be your brain's way of telling you need fuel in your body, you need some food, you've not got enough in there. It gives you a little headache and potentially gets you to eat. Not saying that's definite, but as I told you in my other videos, the yawning was a sign of my body. If I yawned, I wasn't actually tired, I didn't feel fatigued, or I didn't feel like I needed to go for a lie down or needed more sleep. I yawned, thought this could be my body wanting some food, fueled up on food, and the yawns went away virtually within 10-15 minutes, maybe less sometimes. And that worked for me. Could also be the same with headache, potentially. Just my opinion, again, nothing medical behind that. And the last one, it could just be that side effect of Mounjaro is headaches for you, unfortunately. As I said earlier on the video, we all get different side effects. We all get impacted differently by Mounjaro and what it does for you. So unfortunately, that could just be a side effect for you. Geraldine said she was getting plenty of water, so she didn't think it was that, but she did think she might have been under eating, so she's going to try and eat a little bit more this week, and hopefully she'll get back to us, and I'm looking forward to hearing how she got on with a little more food and see if it resolved it. If it does, good luck, Geraldine, and if you've got similar problems with headaches, let me know if it's water, food, or something else that might be impacting you. I hope some of that was interesting and informative. If you're after advice or questions, put them in the comments. I know people want to know about this, but the community we're growing is really growing quickly, and some great things in there. People are giving really good advice to each other, encouraging each other, helping each other. People in there will help you too, and we can go through more next week if you want me to. I didn't see anyone say no this week, and I found more people saying the comments and advice last week were really good, and hopefully these weeks will be too for you. Now on to January for those who've been following along. Excuse me. It's actually December the 25th we're going to pick up from. If you remember from the last video, it's December the 25th, 2024. We're covering that and the whole of Jan. I teased in the last video, and some of you mentioned that in the comments, that this was the first time I'd started seeing a few small issues while on Mounjaro after such a great start. And I wanted to flag this up in that last video because I felt not like I was cheating or lying anyway, but I felt people thought I'd done a great journey on Mounjaro. It's been perfect from the 13th of November right up until today, which is the 18th of April. I've had issues and I've had problems as well. Mine just didn't start till later on in my journey. My first 6 to 8 weeks were actually really good on Mounjaro with little or no side effects that I can remember at all. So this is going to be the start of them. I'm going to go into those in a little more detail in this video and the next couple. But on the 25th of December, Christmas Day, last year, I weighed 17 stone and 7 pound. That was 245 pounds or roughly 111 kilos. I went to bed Christmas night, took my injection as usual. At this point, and another thing I've not been keeping up to date with, and a few of you have asked me this, I was still on 2.5 milligrams of Mounjaro. A lot of you have been asking me what dose I'm on, what am I on now, and we will cover that. I don't want to give any spoilers away again for future videos, but at this point in all the previous videos, I'm still on 2.5 milligrams. I will update as we go along, and for this video, and for Christmas Day, it was still 2.5 milligrams. The next 2 weeks went ahead. Previous weeks, good healthy food again, consisting of all the things I've mentioned in previous videos, which was whole grain rice, chicken or fish for dinners, a shake or salad for lunch, fruit or Greek yogurt. I had breakfast, wouldn't always have it. You should. I struggle to sometimes, and maybe just be too busy and forget. A new thing I added to my diet was Guinness Zeros. Some of you may remember from the first video, I've been off alcohol altogether for around 6 months, slightly longer. I've been off Mounjaro, just a personal choice. Wasn't to coincide with Mounjaro, just happened to align that way. But over Christmas, I was in a friend's house, a little house party between Christmas and New Year, and I tried Guinness Zero. I'd never drank normal Guinness, but I just fancied Guinness Zero because I wasn't really enjoying the alcohol-free lagers that I had in the past. And now, as we move into the beginning of January, I was probably having between 4 and 8 of those a week. They were like a little treat, 1 or 2 a night, about 70 calories, so they weren't having a big impact on the calories. That was for 440 ml can. So yeah, I was enjoying them. Did, however, coincide with me eating a full chocolate bar for the first time whilst I've been on Mounjaro. There was no cravings. I didn't feel like I needed to eat it. I wasn't hungry. I was just in a shop and I bought it like the way I used to. And I devoured it the way I used to. It was kind of like, the old me. And I got really annoyed with myself. Really, really annoyed. And I know it sounds a bit dramatic, 1 chocolate bar in nearly 2 months. And it probably is a little bit dramatic, same as the Christmas dinner in the last video, but, it happened again a couple of days later. 1 bar, same guilt, same annoyance, same results, no side effects or anything. And at this point, around the 3rd week in January, again, stuck to all healthy foods, it was just these chocolate bars. 3rd week of January happened again for the 3rd time. But this time it wasn't just a Whisper Gold. It was a full 145 gram. That's the big bars, if you're not sure, of Mounjaro. And I ate it in 1 sitting. This time it was a little different, though. This time I felt a little bit sick afterwards. I can only describe it as like a small sore stomach. It was nothing severe. I could just feel it. It was uncomfortable. There was a bit of bubbling going on. And that's when I experienced my first bout of diarrhea on Mounjaro. Now, it wasn't as bad as some of you guys have told me in the comments. It probably lasted for an hour. I think I went 2 or 3 times, going into far too much detail for a YouTube video here, but I think it's necessary to get the whole story across. And yeah, it wasn't great, and it managed to put me off chocolate again for the short term. And I managed to go the whole next week with no chocolate or Guinness Zeros. The Guinness Zeros will come more into play in the next video, and we'll cover that, but yeah, so the rest of January I continued on 2.5 milligrams of Mounjaro, injecting every Wednesday before bed, same injection site, little and no side effects, no more diarrhea, the chocolate had gone, and the Guinness Zeros had gone. So what impact did this have for me on the scales during January, including that week from December as well? Well, on Wednesday the 29th, 2025, so at least we're into this year now as we're catching up on my journey. If you remember, I said before, Christmas Day I weighed 17 stone, 7 pounds, 245 pounds, or 111 kilos. On Wednesday, the 29th of Jan, when I weighed, I was 17 stone, 2 pounds, 240 pounds, or roughly 109 kilos, give or take. So for me, for a 5-week period, that was a 5 pound or 2.2 kilogram loss over roughly, 5 to 6 weeks, maybe, give or take, which was not fantastic for me. I was a little disheartened, not massively, but it was moving in the right direction. And, I've got to get into the mindset at this point in January that the scale's going down, the graph's still going down, is still a win, and every little ounce we lose is still a win. We should always remember that, keep going and keep that motivated. As long as the graph's going down, it's a win. It stays the same. It still can be classed as a win depending on what you've got going on. And sometimes it will go up. It's not always going to be a win every single week, even on Mounjaro. I also put it down to there was no exercise in there. It's cold, wet, miserable in the UK in January. That's me just making up excuses. There's people I've had comments in from places like Canada, I think, where it's way colder, they still manage to fit and exercise. So a loss of £5 over 5 weeks shouldn't be sniffed at. I still went in the right direction. Anyway, that was covered in January. I hope those results meant something to you. I hope you now see I'm not. It's not going to be perfect. There's more to come. We'll be covering that in all February, and it'll cover my further slide into things going wrong in the wrong direction when it comes to food, side effects, and recent results. Plus, I will give you my theory on why I think Guinness Zeros have had a big impact on the chocolate. The two, for me, seem to correlate, but we'll go into that in February's video, which will be the next video. We'll also be coming in some more comments, so make sure you leave some, or I'll have nothing to talk about in next week's video. You have been leaving plenty of them to get through. I am struggling, but I'm trying to keep on top, and I think I've answered every new comment. Come and join me. If you've not subscribed, join the channel, join in the comments with everyone. You'll learn so many good things. There's great people in there already. We're all having good conversations, helping each other, advising each other. Get in there, get involved. You don't have to subscribe, just enjoy the comments and what they might bring for you. I hope you enjoyed the slightly new format. It'll be the whole of February next time, so another 4 weeks. Stay strong on your Mounjaro journey, or whatever journey you're on. Might be Mounjaro, be your weight loss journey, whatever else it is in life. If it's addiction, anything like that, you're trying to give up, stay strong. Most importantly, keep going. You can do this. If I can do this, you can do it. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.